Hello, my name is Scott Bradley, and this is SNN Sports Football Voices podcast. And as always, you can find our episodes on YouTube and Spotify. And I'm over the moon to be joined by former Celtic star, the one and only Rudi Vata. Rudi, how are we?
Fantastic. It's very nice to be here. It's my first time, hopefully not the last.
Oh, definitely. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. And I'm also joined by my co-host, former Rangers and Chelsea striker, John Spencer. John, how are they?
I'm very well, Scotty, yeah. Thanks for having me back.
Of course. I need to say, mate, massive congrats. Your boy, Brad, Falkirk, made the top 6 of the weekend, defeated Motherwell. A proud moment for the family.
Yeah, a proud moment for him. And obviously, his teammates. I've watched this team playing from League One, winning the League One Championship, winning the Championship, and then obviously getting up into the Scottish Premier League, and then you get all the doubters saying that they're not good enough and they're going to go straight back down. Took a wee adjustment period for them and finished in the top 6, being a great season so far. They get the chance to go and beat Dunfermline in the Cup and getting in the Scottish Cup final as well. So it could be a tremendous season for not only him but for his teammates and the rest of the coaching staff.
100%. And they've also got a jam-packed show ahead, but we'll just dive right into it. I'm going to ask you this, Rudi. You've had an unbelievable life, an unbelievable career. I can't wait to speak to you about it, but I just want to also start about your upbringing. Obviously, you grew up in a communist dictatorship in Albania. Can you talk me through what that was like for yourself and your family growing up in that kind of environment?
Well, I can say that was one of the worst dictatorship regime that ever exists, Most of the people, they were scared for anything they were thinking to do in their life, So, first of all, freedom is everything in life. When you have the freedom of speech and freedom of doing things, that will kind of give you that opportunity to grow and become the person you want to become. But in Albania, you had that freedom, and you were afraid to make a comment about the bread, about the butter, the cheese, whatever the quality, everything had to be accepted the way it was. You could not express your feelings. So, as I say, people were under that kind of fear emotion all the time, and everything you say goes against you. And if that affects your families, then the consequences could be very, very tough. So the freedom to travel was not there. The freedom to believe in God, you could not say that I believe in God, because we didn't have, our God was kind of our dictator. And that it's a country that obviously was completely isolated in the center of Europe, but isolated from everyone. Our borders, we were kind of surrounded with borders: Montenegro, Macedonia, Greece, with the sea, with Italy from the sea. So, but we were completely isolated, and we were completely taught that we are the best country in the world. We thought we are the best because we were told from early age that our country, everybody wants to be in our country, everybody wants to have our country, and our dictator is our messiah, and he is the savior of this country. So lots of lies, and when you grow up with lies and all these things that you eventually, as a child, you don't understand too much, because life it's as a child, it's the same everywhere. But as soon as you start and understand what's going on, you see that something is not right. And for me to have that possibility to start and play football with national team group ages from early ages, 15, 16 years old, I could see the differences when I traveled to Athens or to Rome with under 15, 16s. When I come back home, the experience I had gone through there was completely different that I had experienced back home. But again, I was not allowed to say that I liked Rome. Rome was beautiful, because that was something that you're not supposed to say. My country is the best. Our food is the best. Our way of living is the best. But you could see those people in different countries. You go to Holland, you see a different life, you see different people with different mentalities. So more or less, he kept us in ignorant mode. He kept us isolated. He kept us without opportunity. He didn't ever give us freedom to choose or to say. So more or less, most of the people under his regime for 50 years, they built up a life that was not life. So, and that was my upbringing. But again, when my moment came, when I became an adult and started to understand things, in that moment in 1991 came, and that opportunity was like one-off opportunities. So I had one choice to go back home and stay in that, continue to live in that kind of world and having these problems and not growing and not developing and not improving in life, or make that hard choice to ask for political asylum and to hopefully get that opportunity to prove yourself that you can be part of that professional game in Western countries, you know, because as a child you have a dream. You're born with a dream, and my dream was one day I would like to be national team player, because that was the maximum you could dream. I could not dream, or I was not allowed, I could not even imagine that one day I will have this opportunity that I can go abroad and play for self. That was not possible to think as a child. That was not allowed to imagine. And if you imagine that, you have problems. So what I did is I always worked to fulfill my dream to become a national team player, because that was the maximum of what you can achieve in my job. Albanian football players were not allowed to be moved out to different clubs because you are isolated. Nobody has the rights to come and say, to come and ask for me, what's the price? Can we have an agreement clubs to club? Because the clubs were completely under the communist regime. There was the clubs, the government owned the clubs. So was that kind of life that was tough. But again, when you get that moment to make that important decision in life, then you understand life much better and you appreciate life much better. And you think, maybe I lived two different kind of lives in one, because that life was a life, but was full of miserability, you know? And then I got that freedom to choose, stayed in France, and that's where it started now. Different music, different demands, different way of living. Everything becomes different, but it's up to you to make yourself part of that society, because the society you are asking to be part, they are going to accept you only if you play, if you perform, if you have those qualities that could be useful for them. So instead of having to work 2 hours a day, I would work 4 hours a day, because I have to compete with the French people now. And these people were much advanced than I was. They had that possibility to train in good facilities, to be coached by good coaches and good environment, and everything was different. So you want to be part of that life, you have to start and change yourself. And it starts there. In 1991, I played Parc des Princes against France. Obviously, John, you remember very well, the team of France was full of superstars. Papin was one of the best strikers in the world
of football that time.
Eric Cantona was there, Laurent Blanc, Basile Bouilly, Franck Souzet, Deschamps was in midfield, Platini was the manager. So, fantastic team. But again, your mind now is, I'm finishing this game here. And after the game, all I have to do is prepare myself to tell my manager, my coach, that I made that decision and sorry, I'm not coming back home because I want to build a proper life. And I made that decision. So,
Rudi, can I jump in there? Because it's a fascinating story. I don't know how you feel. It's fascinating. I've never heard anything like this in my life. Making the hairs in my neck stand up, to be honest with you. How do you come to that decision that you're going to claim political asylum, first and foremost? When you come to that decision, how do you go out and play for your national team and focus on a game of football when that's at the back of your mind? Because you always say you play your best games when your mind is clear, right?
100%.
You know, you're focused on the football. You know what you need to do when you go on the pitch. Whistle goes, you're ready to play. What are you thinking in the lead up to that game?
lots of things go through your head, John. You are again, my experiences until then, they were not great. I had been abroad. I had seen things. I had played against Sweden under 21s. I had played against Germany. I had played against Italy. So many underage groups. But again, having to make the decision to leave your country, it's big. It's massive decision, you know. And you're moving into a world of unknown. Everything is going to be for you new. And first of all, when I left Parc des Princes, I left as a national team player, you know. And straight after 24 hours after, I appeared into a police station asking for political asylum. And what they do is that they take all your details, your passport, your name, your surname, date of birth, everything. You fill the form, and they make a dossier for you. And here we go. You are in a refugee camp next day. Wow. So having that experience, being in that level there, with among playing against the best, and then ended up in a refugee camp, this is something that I never expected. In my head, I thought, I'll get some club who'll give me an opportunity straight away. Yeah. And the club will take care of my situation. They will take care of my paperwork and everything. But it didn't work like that, because as an Albanian, you are classified same as anything. Doesn't matter if you are the president of Albania or the prime minister or the national team captain. Yeah. You're classified as a person from this country, and you have to go through these stages to go with the procedure, to go through an interview and the reasons you are leaving your country and so on. And you have to, a lot of, it's a long journey to get to where I thought is going to be much easier, you know.
And how old were you at this time, really? How old?
21.
Wow. Were you fearful for your family and relatives back home?
No, because at the time the communists, the bloc of communist countries had started to break. You know, okay. Everything was going towards that freedom eventually. But Albania was the last country. In Romania, already the Ceausescu was killed, and Berlin wall was down. So, and even the other Soviet countries started to separate. So it was, you could feel the energy. The communists were not so powerful. That's the reason I made the decision then, because my family would not suffer from my decision. I could have made the decision 3-4 years before that. I would have put my family in a difficult situation. They could have been treated in a way that I would have never wished them. So,
how long did you think about this decision, building up to it?
Well, my decision was made, I believe, last moment, because before I went to France, just before that, 2-3 weeks before that, I went from the town I was working. So I was living in capital. My family was living. They were from Škoda, a city north of Albania. So before I traveled with national team, I went to see my family back home and to say that I'm going to France. And I could see that my parents were a little bit sad. I could see that my brother was not home. You know, my brother was 2 years older than me. But what had happened is that my brother and some of his friends had gathered together and went to a port of Albania and got into a fishing boat, asking the soldiers not to shoot them. And they took a fishing boat to go through the sea to Italy. But my parents had no information if my brother was alive or not alive. So they had been without that worry for about 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So when I went there, I see them in a sad mode, and I say, "What's wrong?" And they says, "Listen, your brother is left Albania. We don't know what's happened with him."
If he's made
At
it.
that time, we didn't have even a telephone line in the house, because we're not allowed even to have a telephone line. My brother could have informed them, but because we didn't have telephone line, he could. So eventually, when I went to France, I had the possibility to meet with some other Albanian refugees, and one of them told me that your brother is with my brother in Bari, Italy. They are living in the church hall. So they
Incredible.
And I got this news, and soon as I went to my room in hotel, you know, this cards you get in hotel,
Postcard.
the postcard. I wrote a postcard. I wrote to my parents that obviously my brother is alive, he's fine, he's safe. I spoke with him, so I'm sorry that I promise you I'm coming back, because to be honest, I promised my parents that I'm coming back. I'm not going to leave you alone if that's the case, you know. But soon as I found out that this is that's the situation with my brother, so I says, now decision is to stay in France. And I apologize to my parents for not keeping my promise, but I'll promise them that we'll be together soon. So just give me that opportunity. Forgive me for taking this opportunity, because it must be the opportunity of my life. So, and it was that moment, that decision making that transformed my life completely.
Amazing.
And Rudi, I just want to ask you, talk me through how the move to Celtic came about.
So after a year and a half in France, the regime completely collapsed. I was allowed to go back to play for national team. So what's happened, the national team manager, he believed so much in my ability. You know, I was his player since I was 18 years old in Dinamo Tirana, and I was always first team player with Dinamo Tirana. And he phoned me one day out of nowhere, and he says that I am struggling to have to call, because so many of national team players that had escaped, that gone all over the places just to try and get a life in football, because Albania was going from bad to worse. You know, the situation was completely poor and no future. So, and he says, how is your fitness? How is your situation with your body? You feeling good and stuff? Could you contribute for the national team? And I says, Gaff, I will be ready to come. I says, at the time, the national team had no even funds to buy us tickets. They didn't even have the equipment. We had to fly with our own expense. But again, that emotion to play for your country, it's always something special, because it's not your country's fault that people brought the situation into that level, you know, and you feel always responsible or obliged to perform for your country. So what happened is the national team was going to play in Spain, Seville, in May 1992, and I went to Seville. I meet up with the national team. We played against Spain. I played against Butragueño, you know. We got beat say nothing, but Arguello didn't score a goal. So for me, it was a great performance. And then 4 weeks after, we had a game in Dublin against Ireland. So we went to Dublin, and again, I had a fantastic game. I performed very well. I was voted man of the match with Paul McGrath after the game. And then what's happened, Liam Brady happened to be in that game there. And he had asked about the number 5 of Albania, who is that young boy. And the FA people had said to him that, explain what is my situation. And soon as the game finished, we got the confirmation. I got in touch with Liam Brady. I was lucky because Liam Brady could speak Italian. And I had also learned Italian since I was 10 years old. So I had this communication in telephone with Liam Brady. And he says, I would like you to come to Dublin, because Celtic was in pre-season in Dublin at the time. So went back to France, applied for a visa, went to Dublin, and that's how it started. And I done some pre-season with Celtic in Dublin for 2-3 weeks, and then came to Scotland, signed the contract, and that's how the journey started. The funny thing is, the day that Liam Brady was there, is that Liam Brady is born on 13th of February. Mm-hmm. I am born on 13th of February. The national team manager of Albania also born on 13th of February. So I don't know, it's some kind of energy that...
A little bit of connection, huh?
100%, yeah.
If that manager had not asked me, and if Liam Brady was not there. So anyway...
How did you find the adaptation from French football to the Scottish Premier League?
That's what I wanted to explain to you now. Because as soon as I arrived, he says, Liam, he could see that obviously I am a technical player, I like to be possessed and stuff, but he called me in the office and he says, listen, young man, he says, in this country you hardly need to be beat twice faster than in Europe. I could not get that. Because I was thinking I am fit because I could compete in French, I could compete in international level, but I didn't know what it means to play every 3 days in rainy nights, in wind. And so he says you have to do a special kind of training with Arab, the athletic coach. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, John, for the first 2-3 weeks, I was thinking I'm going to die.
Really?
Yeah, because Arab was taking me 400 meters, then 300 meters, then 200, then 100 meters, and then again and again and again. I was going to the hotel, back to the hotel. I was staying in Albany Hotel, used to be here. And I was completely on my own. And I could feel my heart pumping during those rounds. And I was in the track with Arab maybe an hour, half an hour, or 45 minutes doing those runs non-stop. But my body was not used to this kind of training. And I was thinking, most of the time I was thinking, am I going to die in this country? Am I going to have a heart attack or something? Because I could not even eat. The body was going through a different change
really?
Now. And
a physical change.
My body was kind of shaking in the nighttime, and I was worried on my own with nobody to speak to, nobody to support you, nobody to give you an advice, nobody to tell you this is normal. Everything what goes through your mind, you have to analyze yourself, and eventually you say, listen, I am an Albanian who tried to become a professional player. And I have this opportunity now. I Celtic. I say, so if I go back to France, was too easy, because I felt like my life just started to get adjusted in France, and I settled in very, very well. But then I says, you want to play football? This is your opportunity. So Celtic is a big club for an Albanian to move from Albania to Scotland. 1992 was something historical. So I make a deal with myself. If I die, I die. all the people.
Do you think that was your upbringing? Do you think your upbringing, going through that as a child, the communism, the Albanian lifestyle, do you think that set you up mentally? I know you said you struggled physically, but mentally, surely you must have been tougher than a lot of kids coming through a different background. Yeah,
I was tough because I made a deal. You know, I said, listen, in life, you either live one day like a lion. I'd rather live one day like a lion than live 100 days like a sheep, I said. So if I have to die, then I will die for something I really loved, you know, and it's worth even dying. Because honestly, I was thinking my heart was pumping and I was shaking in the bed. I could only drink some soup or something light, some milk. I could not eat. My body was going through a transformation. Everything what I was experiencing was a shock for my existence. But then I says, here we go, young man. Did you want to come and play for Celtic? That's what is served. That kind of food you have to eat if you want to. Then it's up to you to accept it or not. But I made a deal with myself that I'm going to suffer. I don't care. That's what I love to do. And then whatever is to happen, let it be, you know. So I was prepared for anything, you know. But the thing that I didn't want to give back, to give up in that opportunity was the main thing, you know. Because as I say, in France, I learned the French language very fast because having that Italian language on my board, the French is a Latin language, so it was so easy for me to learn the French. And I learned the French very well, and I accepted the lifestyle in France much easier. But then you move to a different country, everything is different. The car drive is on the other side of the road, you know, everything it's different. But again, all you have to do is adjust, because I needed Scotland. I was lucky to be part of that environment. God chose me in that moment. How would I say no now? So this is the tasks you face, and this is the moments they build you up for the future. Because if I didn't have the experience with Celtic, I would have been weak, maybe succeeding in Germany. I would not say Celtic was my best experience, but if I didn't go through that procedure here, if I didn't learn and improve as a human being, and if I didn't get that kind of fitness level in Scotland, would have been much more difficult for me in Bundesliga, you know? And in Bundesliga, I ended up playing with a manager who was so strict and so disciplined, hard worker. And I was not even tired after the training we done there. And he was even the manager there was saying, what's wrong with you? Everybody is dead, you know? But I says, I played for Celtic, Gaffa. Don't forget that. I say, in that country there, I says, this is like eating a cake. I says, this is kind of training.
These mad Scotsmen run forever.
So when I see Scottish boys getting elbows and teeth broken and get the teeth fitted into their socks, you know, and nobody complained.
It's interesting to hear you say about you used to train and then go back to the hotel and you're on your own all the time. I just wonder if now the football clubs are set up a little bit differently, where they sign the foreign player, everything's laid on a plate for them. You know, they take them, they get the housing sorted, they get the car sorted. You were probably left to do a lot of that stuff on your own.
No, and in Scotland at the time, there were not many foreigners, you know. The beauty of Celtic for me was because most of the players, they were Scottish players, you know, and you could learn. I was so hungry to learn about the history of the club, the history of the country, and is the Scottish guys who's going to tell you, you know. Now it's full of foreigners. At the time, when I signed for Celtic, I didn't care how much money I'm going to make. My kind of happiness was to wake up, go out there, learn from Paul McStay, learn from John Collins, learn from Tom Boyd, learn from Tony Mowbray, from Charlie Nicholas, all those guys who had been in the game and had those experiences. For me, that was my kind of, my benefit. That was the biggest benefit I was getting, you know? And I was thinking all the time that if I learn from those people, the money will be there. And I was very poor. But my priority was to improve first, to be accepted, to earn the respect in the dressing room, and then things will happen. So I think I did what I had to do because I made the right decisions, and I had that commitment that you make that kind of deal with yourself, and that's it, you know. So it's up to you to go through the stages. One thing is sure, it's that your situation is yours. And if you want to find a way, you always find a way, you know.
Oh, definitely, Rudi. I just want to ask you this as well. I've been looking forward to asking this one. What was it like working under Tommy Burns, and how much impact did he have on your career?
Well, look, when I went to Celtic first with Liam Brady, was very easy for me because Liam had this responsibility to give me the right advice from day one, you know. I was the player who he signed, and I had so much respect because I had seen him since a young boy playing for Juventus in Italy and Inter and Sampdoria. So in Albania, Liam Brady was a name, you know. We knew who he was, and for me was some kind of a big opportunity. And then after Liam, when Liam left, then I was a bit hurt because he's a guy who was like a father figure to me at the time, you know. I was going Christmas period, he was asking me to go over, have a dinner with his family to keep me kind of motivated and to keep me in that family situation, you know. I was completely alone. And then after Liam came Lou Macari and all their experience, different human being, different mentality. But again, it's an experience. He's your manager. You have to respect him. You have to earn the place with him as well. And then comes Tommy. But Tommy, you could see that Tommy is a Celtic man. You know, Tommy has that Celtic DNA on him. Straight away, you could see that he knew what he's talking. The way he expressed himself was a real true Celtic guy, you know. And I had my moments, my ups and downs with Tommy. And obviously at the beginning he didn't like me because he had different ideas. At the time I used to think he's wrong because I was not a manager, I was selfish. But then later on you realize every manager wants to have his own team and to build it up with his own ideas, with the players he thinks he can become successful. So I was a player of Liam Brady, and he wanted to bring his own players to build a team so he can win the league and compete against Rangers. So at the time I didn't understand. As a football player, you're always selfish. But later on you realize that manager is right, even when you think he's wrong, you know. And but again, eventually he didn't like me at the beginning. But what I did is, instead of finishing training, going home, I was going another 2 hours in the park or in the truck, doing some runs, doing some short turns, going to the gym another hour and a half. You know, I had enough energy. I was on my own. I had enough time. So what I did is, instead of complaining and instead of crying about it, I went and hammered myself. And after 2, 3 months, 4 months, Billy Stark, he asked me to go and see him in the office. And he says to me, listen, son, he says, I've seen you doing what you're doing. And he says, I'm very impressed. He says, you know, you never complained, you never moaned. He says, you get on with your work. He says, do you know you're going to play tomorrow night? Obviously, at the time, there was the system with 11 players plus three subs, I think, and one goalkeeper. Was in Scotland was this rule.
Yeah,
but
14 on the bench.
We had to appear, everybody had to appear to Celtic Park before the game. So he just says, you're going to play. Are you ready? I said, Gaffer, I've been ready from the first day. He says, you told me you are not in my plans. Since then, I says, I waited for this man. And that's what's happened. I played against Comano. done very well. We played in semi-final against Hibs very well. And then in the final again, we won the trophy, and then I scored against Rangers. So from being completely frozen out, having that kind of mentality, I'm going to convince him to give me that opportunity, because he was a holy man, you know, told me, believe. He didn't like me, my skills, but he saw that I haven't not given up. So out of sudden, he called me in the office, and he gave me that opportunity. We won the trophy together. We ended up in Cup Winners' Cup after. We played against Paris Saint-Germain and stuff. So Tommy was all about Celtic. He knew Celtic better than anybody else. And again, he was a great man, because even after I left Celtic, he became a Reading manager. He wanted me to go and sign for Reading, but I had just signed a contract with another club. So I had my moments, but Tommy, lots of respect for Tommy, because again, a manager doesn't matter if a player thinks he's right. The manager is a difficult job. To be a manager is a tough job. It's a big responsibility. You can never make 24, 27 players all happy, you know. And the ego is there in every player, you know. The players in general, they are selfish, you know. And again, but I think he created a good team atmosphere. He signed some good players, and then started to play proper Celtic football. And
I think that's a great story for the viewers listening, and I hope some of the young people listen to young players, because there's a lot of people have the mindset that footballers have an easy life and it's all like everybody goes up the way. The trajectory is always like up. And it's not, because for a lot of footballers going through the career, there's peaks and there's troughs and there's some downtimes, and there's, as he said, his mentality is obviously an elite mentality, and it's came from his background, his childhood, that coming through that communism, and he's felt, you know what, I've got this opportunity. He's at Celtic. The manager doesn't like him. He's been told, you're not my guy, you're not going to get a chance. But he never, and 99% of footballers would turn around and say, you know what, sod this, training's finished, shower, gear off, home, have lunch at home. But he's went, you know what, another 2.5 hours every day, pushing. And eventually someone recognised that and went, you know what, we ain't getting rid of this guy. This guy's hanging about like a bad smell, whether we like it or not. And he's worked and got the opportunity. It's a great story on and off the pitch.
Oh, definitely.
So I was listening to
I just want to ask you this as well, Rudi. Did you see the fact that Tommy Burns at first wasn't a fan of you? See, going through that journey to Tommy Burns not being a fan to winning the cup with him, what was that moment like for you?
I don't know what kind of feeling is to win the World Cup, you know, but for me as an Albanian, I was the first Albanian ever to win a trophy in a Western world.
Well,
so you are the first. For me, it was like paradise, you know. Maybe it looks a small achievement now, but in 1995 was the whole world for me when we went to Celtic Park, the fans out there, because it was a fair kind of distance that we didn't win a trophy for 4 or 5 years. I don't know, 6 years maybe. So this was the first trophy we won under Tommy, and this was the first season in charge, you know. But you could see he brought Van Hooydonk, he brought Cadet, he brought Andy Tong, and later on came Di Canio. Mm-hmm. So he brought top quality players, but those players, they had big personalities, and the football started to change then for Celtic. This is the way, because I remember Tommy doing a lot of Ajax Amsterdam's coaching stuff. He had been to Holland, he had studied how Ajax works, so all he wanted is a ball in the ground, keep the ball position, you know, and that was something that started to click in with everybody. So the team is improving. Of course, the budget maybe was not there at the time, because Rangers were far ahead with the budget, but Tommy was the key moment for Celtic to change that situation to go towards better things. I think that was the key moment for Celtic.
Tommy's teams played the way Tommy played. Tommy was a very cultured midfield player, brilliant on the ball, good passer, good running mobility, and his teams played the exact same way. You're a wee bit younger than me, so you don't remember.
I
But
don't think I was born at that time.
yeah, believe me, Tommy was a very cultured player.
And I just want to ask you this as well, Rudy. Obviously, that goal against Rangers at Hampden, that free kick, one of your standout moments in your career.
Another moment. So those moments are the moments who bring that kind of joy in you that you don't know what can be better. You see the ball going into the net, you think it's me, it's not happening, it's real, it's not real. So those special emotions, because being a fullback, I was playing always as a fullback at Celtic, but in my whole career I played center back or number 6. So somehow they choose me to play a fullback because I got a good engine to go up and down. With Liam Brady, I've also played as a right winger. I created because after all the training I've done, my engine was kind of ready to go up and down. I loved going and putting crosses on. But for a fullback to score, and especially in a situation where John Collins was going to take it, because this was a free kick that a left-footed player can take, not a right-footed. But I was going through that moment that I felt so confident, and I said to John, I am taking it. And John was so nice, and he just moved away,
Really?
So I took it, went in, and again, great emotion for my family, for myself, for my name, for my work, everything you start, and everything pays back to you in one way or another. I am a great believer that if you put in your work, you'll get the results back eventually. But you have to be kind of patient. I believe the successful people, they have 2 things in common: discipline and being patient. If you put the work today and you expect the results tomorrow, that's not enough. So especially young boys, they expect good return straight away. There is a lot of hard work to be put in first, and then you get the results eventually. But if you expect to get results straight away,
It's not going to happen.
I think by luck, you maybe get 1 or 2 results, but football career is very short career, Obviously today, players like Modric, like Lewandowski, like Ronaldo and Messi, they're proving that even 38, 39, 40, you can play in that level. And that those are great examples. But in our days, when you reach 34, 35...
You were considered finished,
Yeah, you're considered finished. When I see now Lewandowski, 38, is talking, 39, is talking to go to AC Milan next season, maybe, So you can see that all you do with your life, it takes you there, And if you want to prolong your football career, it's up to everybody, but you need to eat, to drink, to sleep, dream football. And I don't think there are many jobs better than football for me. But also being a top professional guy, it's a tough job. It's a hard job. But it's something, as I said before, if you love something, you give everything for love, And I believe football has been the love of my life, And if I had no football, I don't know. But having that opportunity, everything becomes easier. My family became more comfortable in life, and my parents became proud of me, and they kind of they lived a good life after the communist regime. So I fulfilled my kind of dreams to give them the opportunity to bring them to Scotland, to take them to Germany, to bring them to Japan, to Cyprus, to France. So that's what I gave back to my parents, because that's the people who created me.
Can I ask you, I get to see my son playing at Falkirk most weekends. I can't imagine my son leaving and never being allowed to see him. How long did it take for your parents to get to see you play live in the football game?
Well, I promised them in that card. I say soon I says, I'm going to make sure I'm bringing you to France. So 19 March 1991, I left Albania. In February 92, my parents were in a flight to Paris. So I brought them to France. Thank God, I found a good friend in France who wrote an invitation and a guarantee, so they had to go to the French embassy. But even for them, first time to leave their country in their age was, you could see that even when they arrived in France, you could see the fear in their faces, because they were thinking, is that a mistake what we've done? Because that thing was not
Because they were so oppressed,
because
so oppressed.
they could not believe they arrived in France after a year and a half, because they were used with that idea, if you try and go through the border, you get shot.
Well,
that's what's happened. Thousands of young boys being shot and just crossing the border, or through the river or through the lake or through the sea. So for them, coming to Paris was like, is that a dream or is that a reality? And you could see, but then obviously you feel like freedom brings that kind of energy in you, and that can motivate you to look forward to the life, So thank God we had to earn that freedom. And when you earn the freedom, it's you enjoy freedom much
Cherish
more,
it.
You taste it much more, I don't know, because when you are born with tons of opportunities, I think you get a little bit spoiled, But when you get, for me, it was one chance to make that decision to stay in France. If I had not made that decision, if I had not been brave enough, if I had not had that courage, I could have been completely different human being today.
No, definitely. And I just wanted to obviously speak about Rocco. John mentioned him there. You must be so proud to see how well he's doing in his career, 20 years old, obviously plays for Ireland as well, doing well at Watford. You must be so proud.
So, look, I thought, we talk about job. I thought football is a tough job, but being a father, I think, is the toughest job you can have. John, how old is your son?
He's 29.
20. Well, he experienced long before me, but me, I have kind of this relationship with Rocco. I don't like to spoil the boys, The boys, to me, they are born to be competitors, like life itself. And you either choose to be a soldier or be a gladiator. Everybody can become a soldier, but not many can end up being warriors or gladiators. So why not become a gladiator? Because the gladiators will be remembered forever, So Rocco is going through those stages. I think he's born with that talent, and that is God is giving him the talent. He has done a lot of good work. He has improved a lot in different areas, He's still 20 years old. He has a great opportunity working for a very good club with a proper project. They have a project with him, and he's been with national team of Ireland also. He already has a debut with them. He's manager of Ireland. I think he likes him a lot. At the moment, Rocco is injured. He's been out now for more than 3-4 months, so with a hamstring surgery. It's a question of how much he would want to how far he want to go, and it's up to him, because quality is everything. And when you have that elite qualities, that it's up to you to put in the work. If you don't put in the work, that means that you're not going to become the player everybody think you can become. So I think he can go right to the top if he continue to grow, if he continue to listen, to stay humble, to be hungry, and to have that desire. The desire to train and to improve, to train and to improve and to learn. Not the desire to go out in nightclub and waste your energies, because those kind of desires, then they can create a problem in your game, So if he's got that dream to become a Champions League level, it's on him. It's on him.
Got to make the life sacrifices, right? You have to sacrifice life.
Joe, I don't think in the past I used to call it a sacrifice, but I don't think it's a sacrifice. It's a decision.
Yeah.
It
depends how you look at it, right? Because other people can do certain things. They can have the 3 nights a week out, but the athletes can't.
The most important verb is called a verb, no? It's not to have, to be, but is to choose. That choice you make, you're going to live with that. So the decision is most important thing. I don't call it sacrifice because you get paid a lot of money. And I say to him many times, your body is your bank. You give your body 10 kilometers, then you get out 10 kilometers. But if you give 7, your body is not going to produce 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can't expect it to go
treat your body like your bank. If the demands are to go 11 kilometers a game, then how are you going to have that 11? Where are you going to get it from if you don't have it in you?
Yeah, you got to find it.
So when you're young, your body is just, the muscles are fresh, the engine is new. So all you have to do are those kilometers, those miles in your body, and then you get the result back in the game. But if you tell me Rocco will end up winning the Champions League one day with a top club, I will not be surprised, because the difference between a good player and a very good player, it's a mindset today, Good players, they can do so far, but very good players, you know what is the difference? They never get tired, And when the good players get tired, the very good players will leave them alive. And that's what makes a difference.
Definitely, Rudi.
Why did they choose Ireland and not Albania?
He's born in Scotland, as well.
No, the thing is, Albania never asked him to represent Albania. I don't have.
Is there a political reason for that, you think?
It is because I am a critical. I mean, look, people say I criticize Albanian Football Federation a lot, but I don't. I defend football. John, me and you, we played football. We worked in football. Now we are kind of allowed to defend our work. And if someone from another territory enter into your territory and play the games with his rules, but me as a free human being, I say this is wrong, but people don't like that, So I criticize the work, they are doing to bring up the new talents and to create the facilities for Albanian football. And because Celtic obviously is connected to Ireland, and most of the Celtic coaches are connected with Irish FA, Ireland realized that when Rocco was 14, they realized that he can qualify to play for Ireland. So they asked the family, and I says, just go and enjoy the experience, young man. So they've been taking care of him. He enjoyed those experiences. He went through all the stages with under 15, 17, 19, 21. He made the debut with the 18. And now he's in that ladder. He needs to make the next step. So he's there. It's a good journey for him. He had made some mistakes because every young boy makes.
Yep.
And hopefully he learns. And he dedicates himself to the game because it's beautiful to be part of this environment, So I think all the young boys, they need to have that inner desire for football more than anything else. Because as I say, is not a very long career. It's a short career. But in that short period, you need to make the most of it.
No, definitely, Rudi. And obviously, unfortunately, we're running out of time. But before we wrap up, I ask everyone who comes on the show this question, Rudi. Who thinks better, Ronaldo or Messi?
Messi.
Oh,
the streak's over now.
Thank you. Thank you. We argue about this every week.
We argue about it all the time because what was it Dougie said Ronaldo, obviously Davey said Ronaldo. I was hoping for 3 in a row, but sadly wasn't the case. But Rudi, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. Spenny, you're a legend as always. Thank you so much. But guys, thank you for watching. And do make sure you like and subscribe and share it to your friends. We really appreciate it. But until next time, take care and we'll see you soon. Cheers.